The chaotic nature of Chainsaw Man is something I feel can be replicated by a lot of mangaka, but when it's done, and I mean when it's done well, it's truly something special to read. In this situation, it is this manga called Aftergod. I'm sorry, but I don't remember who recommended this, but I know it's one of my subs for my top 10 video. Whoever you are, thanks, bro. This is truly a hidden gem that deserves more attention. Now, the story kicks off with this girl called Waka, who's looking for a friend. But let me not say looking for because she's actually looking to kill the god who's killed her friend. That's when we meet the second main character, Toginaga, who'll become the anchor for the progression of the story. So this world is run by Ippos, who may some call gods. These gods are basically the enemies of mankind and the true antagonists of humanity. Firstly, the thing I like about the story is the premise, and its play on how gods being the unwanted evil of the world. It brings into play the idea of religion and causes discourse among the people. And the discourse is so effective that the gods are given a different names, the Ipo, to avoid a religious war about religious people and atheists. But that's not all the story does for the main character, Waka. It places her in situations where she has to question who the real enemy is. Is it really the gods that can kill you instantly by turning you into water, or the dark nature of people that lurks in our society? That people fail to address. In fact, they simply ignore it. This is what I can see acting as the path for a character development. As for the themes, I think there are two themes that are constantly portrayed or emphasized by characters, and these are themes of sacrifice and selfishness. Especially for Waka, these themes force her to question her actions and put them into perspective. I personally love the themes for the simple fact we get to dive into the beauty and the ugliness of humanity. And hopefully, as the story progresses, we can see these themes evolve and put our main character in really difficult situations to test her and allow for her growth. As the main character, she fits the role perfectly, and we get to really dive into the human nature. Now, as for Toginaga, the second main character, he's a kind, compassionate, and thoughtful soul that represents the best part of humanity and always reminds Walker that there's still some good in humanity. Even if it comes from a minority, it's still better than nothing. I don't want to spoil anything, but he also gets enough screen time to shine where his very beliefs and values are tested. So I enjoyed the role he served for the story. I think that does it for main characters. As for the side characters, each character has reasons for their actions, influenced by the appearance of the Epos, or should I say gods. The cast is fairly good, but I wouldn't say they're as strong as the main duo. Maybe some, but for the most part, they do pull their own weight in terms of pushing the story forward. So I'm not complaining that much. Plus, it's only the beginning, so I think we'll get more screen time for them to allow them to shine. As for the world building, I think as of right now, it's pretty basic. Really nothing to be excited about. I think the bulk of effort was saved on creating the character designs, the art. In fact, speaking of the art, that shit is beautiful, bro. A manga panel is amazing when you read a chapter and then you immediately stop. And for like 5 seconds, you take in a panel and this one specific line from a character. You feel the tension, excitement, the pain, or whatever emotion that is expressed by a character in that very moment. And I can't tell you how much I love that. For me, those manga panels make or break a manga, in my opinion, because the thought that lingers after finishing a manga is that one panel that really gave you a certain emotion or expression. As for my grasp of the story, I think for me, it has to be a well defined power system. For me, at this moment, I kind of feel as though maybe it's making and not receive the same type of hype as other manga. I mean, I think the powers the characters use are pretty cool, and the overall aesthetic of fights are also nice. But the thing about a power system is the fact that it allows us to power scale and serves as a way for the world to grow. In the grand scheme of things, it acts as a world building mechanism because we can probably gauge the threat level of antagonists, and in doing so, we build anticipation for future fights and enemies. Without it, it becomes really difficult to be hyped up for future antagonists. But then again, the author can still make it work with maybe an antagonistic group. You can possibly rank each individual in the group according to their strength. I think Tokyo Ghoul did something similar. It wasn't that well defined too in terms of that power system. So I wouldn't say the story is completely doomed without it, but I think it would have helped it immensely. All in all, After God's appeal will come from the amazing art and the interesting ideas about humanity that it tries to tell. But maybe that lack of a well defined power system is preventing it from hitting the mainstream. As for me, though, it's definitely something I feel needs to be read by everyone. So, regardless, I recommend you read it, man. And tell me how you think about it in the comments below. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.